Hi, my name is Michael Bean, and this is your lesson for Friday, July the 17th for myfreeactingclass.com. You can find all the links that you need there. And, I post all of my lessons you can find them at confidenceoncamera.com, but there's a link on the myfreeactingclass.com website. It's really easy. So Fridays, we like to have decision maker guests, and unfortunately I had a last minute cancellation. Tina Peme, who's the producer, was going to join us today. I had to reschedule, so not cancel, but she will be coming still. She's just going to join us, I think, a week after next. We've got her scheduled for the first Friday in August. She said in her email that the production team that they had just sent to Australia to work on whatever project they're currently working on had called the 3 o'clock meeting. And I was like, okay, well, I guess we'll have to reschedule. This is very consistent with the world of film and TV. And so I wanted to engage you all in an exercise that I haven't done here for a couple of months. I'm going to lead with something fun just for starters, and then I want to lead you or go through an exercise. Excuse me. And I'm back. And so I want to lead you through that production team of making an imaginary movie. But first, I want to show you a clip from a director named Emma Higgins. And so this was for a commercial audition that came through really recently. And I was like, oh, I'll bet the students on my Friday class or in the free acting class would be interested in this. So just as like the ultra simple review, which I know, like, I don't know, nobody really needs, but I think it's useful to hit it just in case somebody's watching the YouTube video and they're like, what does that mean that there's a director? What we've got, is the producer's in charge of the money, the director's in charge of the story, casting director's in charge of the audition, talent agent is in charge of marketing the actors. That's their job. You can only have one, at least, only one for film and TV, and you can have a different one for voiceover, but most people don't. And then the actors are in charge of themselves, and their materials. So the director, the person who's in charge of the story, the video I'm going to show you is from this local woman who was hired as the director for a commercial, and this was a casting notice that came out just a couple of days ago. I probably shouldn't show you the casting notice and the details because, confidentiality, but her video talking directly to actors, I think, is relevant far beyond the specific project that she made this for. So let's take a look at that first.
My name is Emma, and I'll be your director on this project, and I wanted to make this tape today to tell you a little bit about what I'm hoping to get out of your auditions. So, normally, if we were able to do an in-person audition, I would be looking for 3 things. The first would be your ability to take direction. Your second would be your ability to think outside the box and just think on your feet. And then the third would be your on-screen presence and just your general personality. So taking those into account while you're making your tape would be very helpful. To demonstrate that you can take direction, what I'd really love to see is just a variety of different approaches to the line. So maybe you can do it a couple different times with a couple different emotional intentions. So whether that's seeing you do the line once with like a cool swagger, or another line that feels like more goofy or fun, and another that feels just cool and off the cuff. I want to know that you can give me variety if I need it from you. Secondly, what I'd love to see is your ability to go beyond the line. So I know how challenging one-line auditions can be. I want you to feel free to expand beyond that. Think about what your character would be doing in this scene, what they would be saying leading up to this or going out of this, and just have fun with it. And just give me a little bit of more. So I know that you're one of those creative minds who will be a good collaborator for me. Thirdly, what I'd love to get to know is just your personality and a sense of who you are. We are looking to authentically represent British Columbians. I'm not particularly looking for caricatures or people who are super over the top. I'm looking for real people, and whoever that is to you, I just want you to share a little bit about who you are, and maybe you can tell the camera what it is you like to do to get ready for a night out, or what makes you feel confident and good, and just anything else you think you'd like us to know about you. That's it from me. Thank you so much for taking the time to put together these tapes, and I really look forward to watching them. My name is Emma, and I'll be your director.
So that's the first one of those that I've seen that clearly. But isn't it wonderful? Were you able to see it on your end? And I know that playing video is always a little shaky. Okay, good. I'm seeing some nods. And so the things that she said she was looking for specifically, was the ability to take direction, a certain amount of creativity, presence on camera, and I think that it's useful because she's in a very simple way articulating things that are fairly universal in terms of what directors are looking for when somebody comes in the room. And so I really liked about this video that she said, I'm looking for real people. And one of the things she said, because this was specifically for a one-line audition, was I'm looking for people who can bring a little extra. And this is one of the reasons that I've been bringing in this sort of very short script. I think I brought one in on Monday. I might have done one on Tuesday as well. Is that the choices that you make around telling that story give them a sense that you are an actor who is doing that next level piece of work, and somebody who they might be interested in working with. An actor in this, in this chain is actually and literally a collaborator. Is not somebody who is there just to go in, deliver exactly this perfect thing that they're supposed to somehow know. Here's exactly what they want, and I'm going to go deliver it. The actor is a collaborator in that process, and you are collaborating in part just by bringing who you are as a person, and you're in part collaborating by bringing your understanding of story. So if we were going to investigate this chain of things, okay, because I'm improvising, there are two different things that I haven't had a chance to talk about in a while. One of which is the like in a little bit more detail, this chain of what are the different priorities that each of these people on the food chain has. You just heard a director talking, and we could talk a little bit about what the producer wants, what the casting director wants, etc. There's also a specific note-taking tool that I've been practicing with my students in the last, probably in the last 4 or 5 months, that I haven't had a chance to go over at all, but I think is very effective in terms of meeting this need they want for somebody who can, take direction. And so I'm probably cover, both of them, but let's do this. So Christina, let's imagine that you're my producer. Okay, so are you my producer? Okay, sweet. So can you unmute yourself? Great. So Christina, every time I reference you, you just say money, right? So Christina, what's your job? You're in charge of the
money.
Exactly, right. And so your main priority in making this film is to make more
money.
Right. Now you've hired Quinn, who's he's a hip young guy, and he's a writer. He's written this great script. And so Quinn, what's the name of your TV movie? Just make something up.
Oh, make something up? Okay. The Color Orange.
It's right. So he's written this great script, The Color Orange, and it's about love in the orange fields surrounding Los Angeles, and it's it's got a teen girl and a teen boy, and it's just and you're really excited about it because you think, Christina, that you're going to make more
money
by making this film, and that's your reason for making movies. Maybe you are an artist and love art, but there are lots of avenues where you could make art. The reason that you're a producer is because you also think you can make
money.
Exactly. Good. So so you basically hire everybody, which means you also make the final decision on things, which is why you bought Quinn's script. Now after you bought Quinn's script or optioned his script if he's really fancy, which basically just means I'm going to give you money so that I have the rights to make this movie for X period of time. That's what it means to option a script. Then you start going looking for everybody else. Now if you are a very big fancy producer, or you are a producer who's in charge of just so maybe Christina, yeah, you want to make
money,
but the money you're playing with isn't yours. You actually work at Netflix. And so your job is to make more
Money.
Exactly. See, this is a fun game. I don't want to get carried away and go too fast. So you hire everybody, like so you hire Sarah, who's down here, the redhead, and Sarah's the director, and she like finished film school a couple of years ago, and she like is really passionate. She made some short films, and like you've also hired a production coordinator and somebody who's going to like find the locations, but you need Sarah because you need somebody who's going to like be responsible for the art and is going to like lead the story of The Color of Orange. And so Sarah's an artist, or at least somebody who is a passionate storyteller, like Jesse Miller, who we had a number of weeks ago, and Sarah, your focus is the story, and so when I touch base with Sarah, you just like look really artistic and you just say story, so Sarah, your focus is the
Story.
yeah, but you got to be more artistic, like, exactly. See, and she wants to tell a good
story.
Exactly. And so that's her focus, right? Now, put in context the notes that you heard Emma give in her video. Like the reason that she wants somebody who has good presence on camera, that we're just like, well, I don't know why, but I want to watch this person more. The reason she wants somebody who can take direction, so she can like say, actually try it like this. And the reason she wants somebody who can like bring their own thing to it, she's not just alone, in that process, is because she wants to tell a good
story.
Exactly. And so then you fall into like everybody else along the food chain. Sarah and Christina are going to usually approach a casting director. The casting director is going to write a little description of all the characters. They're going to send it out, to all the talent agents. The talent agents are going to say like, please see my actors because they're amazing. Because remember, the talent agents only eat, if their actors book work. And then the actors, the ones that are chosen by the casting director, the agent does not choose. I know that most of you know that, but it's just worth saying over and over again, because I just get people saying all the time, oh, my agent's not getting me enough audition. It's like the agent doesn't choose. The agent, is marketing to the best of their ability. Do they have what they need to market? How are they marketing you? That's a good conversation with your agent for sure. But if you approach your agent like, you're not giving me auditions, you are so missing the whole process. That conversation is not going to go well because it shows in the way that you're approaching it that you're combative, and that you actually don't understand how the process works. Whereas, it should be collaborative, right? You're the actor, your job is to have all the materials and to have your skills. The agent's job is to market you. Casting director's job, is to like send out the information, gather hundreds of actors and choose, 15 or 20 from little pictures of you that are this size, and the people they know to see. Okay, so that's that little piece, that I wanted to go over. Now, Quinn, in your movie, The Color Orange, like there's like the male and the female lead, and of course Christina, because Christina wants to make
money.
Christina's been really specific with the casting director and everybody about who she wants. She's like, well, we've already got this guy attached who's got this like huge YouTube following, and he's already been a successful actor on the show, and he has basically teen girls love him already, and so they're going to come see it. And he has like this skin tone or like apparent ethnicity. And so we need somebody who is a different skin tone or apparent ethnicity because that will help me sell it, into a bigger audience. Unless it's Hallmark, in which case, 80% of the time, both of them are white because that's that particular market. And there's been lots written about, the sort of inherent racism of those movies. And maybe I don't need to talk about it in lots of detail, but you get what I'm saying. Christina might actually be having behind the scenes conversations where she's like, okay, so the lead guy is like this. And so we need a girl who's like Asian or half Asian because that's going to help me sell it in China. And I've got a distributor, but the distributor's only going to buy it if one of the leads is at least half Asian. And that's going to make me
money.
That's what I care about. Right? Or if we don't make that, I don't get to make another one. So it's not that it's the only thing they care about, but that's their focus. And that's who makes the final decision on casting. Now Sarah might then privately have the conversation with the casting director. She's like, I don't care. I just wanted to have good chemistry. Like, I want a real person, somebody who's a really good actor. It doesn't matter what their skin tone is. It doesn't matter what their apparent ethnicity is. It actually doesn't matter. I only want somebody who can tell a good
story.
Yeah, exactly. And so there are those competing needs, but the person who makes the final decision is the person who's in charge of Christina?
Money.
Which is why actors are always like, but I did the best audition and I'm amazing. How come I didn't get the job? There's a million things that are outside of your control. Remember, there are possibly 15 of Christina, each of whom has to say yes. And each of whom can say, yeah, they are the best actor, but you know what? I don't like beards. And so that Michael Biehn guy, like he's disqualified because, our target audience doesn't like beards, or just I personally don't like beards and it's my money, or like any reason that you can't possibly guess or fathom. So with that in mind, your ally in all of this is Sarah, or Emma, who I showed you the video of at the beginning, the director. And so in approaching that conversation with the director, here's a tool. So so we've got the male and female lead, and then there's the best, and so those are probably even now in the middle of COVID, probably like the guy's already coming from LA because he's coming because of his YouTube following and his Disney Channel show. The lady, maybe they look in Vancouver, but they're also like seriously looking in LA because it's more about like her audience and her Twitter following, than it is about like her performance. But then there's a best friend. And because this is like a made for TV movie, the best friend, probably they're going to cast of the female lead, best friend of the female lead, maybe they're going to cast here. And then the best friend of the female lead, has a brother, and the brother has one line, right? And that they're definitely going to cast here because the brother's supposed to be only 13, and they're not going to fly somebody 13 and their mom up from LA, put them up in a hotel for 2 weeks to quarantine, get them on set for a single day, and then fly them home, because that's going to cost Christina too much
money,
and she doesn't want to do that. So and the only thing that happens, is like when the lead, is like picking up her best friend at her house, her brother runs into the room and says, what's the one line, that the brother says, to the sister in this movie set in the orange groves of Orange County, Quinn? Because Quinn's the writer.
You're wearing my socks.
You're wearing my socks. Exactly. So the point is to like just establish, what like how frustrating it is to have brothers, and like how crazy the house is, and like why is he obsessed about socks, And so the brother runs in and says, "You're wearing my socks." Now, if Maddox, is the actor, or like Maddox and Joseph say are both auditioning for this role of the 13-year-old brother, so your line is, "You're wearing my socks." You only have one line. And so really a lot of your creativity or your storytelling goes into like the before and the after. And a lot of it goes into just to going in like, hey, I'm just interesting as a person, right? Like it's one line, just not that big a deal, right? Like, but look, I'm competent. I've got my skills, my agent, I'm taking care of my agent, getting my materials. Now, if, especially if you are doing that one-line audition, via Zoom, or if you're getting the chance to go in and do it in person, you can reasonably expect, the Sarahs of the world, the directors, to ask you to do it differently. And so here's the tool that I've been using in class that I found super effective for that. And that is when you first get a note, and casting directors are usually moving really fast. If you remember back to the casting directors, we've had guests here. They'll see hundreds of people in a day. They will budget 1 to 2 minutes per person. With a one-line audition, they'll probably budget a single minute. And that, that single minute includes everything from, Maddox walking in the door and saying, hey, and then saying, hey, Maddox, stand on the mark, stand by, and doing a second take. Maybe they'll budget 2 minutes. But like, it's a way for them to see a bunch of new actors, who maybe they don't have relationships with because it's only one line. And no matter how badly Maddox messes up that one line, even if they've never met him before, they're like, well, whatever, it's one line. And they're not going to remember anyway. After he does the one line, they'll probably give him a results-based note. I want it to look like this. I want it to sound like this. And this is the trap, I think, for actors a lot of the time, is you do get notes like that in the real world. And sometimes you'll get a director who talks to you and says, well, okay, so I really want the brother to come across like this, and here's the relationship with the sister, and I want you to like play with it. Actually, you feel more like this about her. Try it like that. But a lot of the time you'll say, again, but like more annoying. Again, but faster. Again, but like more aggressive about the socks. Right? Here's how I, the person giving the note, want it to sound and want it to feel to me. And so what I recommend, is, and we'll get Joseph and Maddox through this, and then really anybody who wants to try it can, just so you can try the format, is that first you say it back to them in their own, you say it back to them exactly, right? So you say, okay, great, you want it more aggressive. Then you put it into your own words. More aggressive, like, like grumpy, and then you say because, and you explain why that makes sense in the story. Not why it's a good note. Like, yeah, more grumpy because Sarah, you're a great director and I love you. Please give me a job. No, you say, like more aggressive, like grumpy, because, his sister's always taking his socks. The, and, then you can, if it feels right in that audition, even with the director, give them that line or a piece of the line. So if you're like more aggressive, like grumpy because she's always taking my socks. Like those are my socks. You like that? And it's not that I'm going into the audition. I'm looking into the eyes of the director, and I'm saying, is this what you mean? So that they can say, oh no, not that kind of aggressive. I mean more aggressive, like OCD, sort of like fussy obsessive. Oh, okay, that's a totally different kind of aggressive. So it's like, those are my socks. Oh, it hurts me inside. And I'm aggressive, but it's totally different from being grumpy. And that's what words are good for. Casting directors and even directors will often give you 2 words. And if you want to get more of a picture of it, all you have to do is dialogue with them. And one of the beautiful things is that so few people do this. Like typically only actors who are working already at like a guest star or a lead level are used to having that dialogue. That if you do this and you can do it in just a sentence or 2, then it can break them out of like, I'm just sitting and watching and deciding mode and into, oh, right. Joseph's an artist and we're collaborating. Oh, maybe I wasn't clear with my words. Like, let's talk about this. And so Maddox, do you want to demo? Right, so you don't have to stand up. Don't worry about it because it's really more about the exercise. So I'm gonna say stand by and then just give me the line. Right, like you're playing video games and you look up and you see me wearing your socks. Stand by and action.
I'm wearing my socks.
Perfect. Now, and then let's say you get a note like, again, but like like louder and crazier. Like the brother's really funny, right? So this is a like can be. There's so many different types of this, but that's the kind of results-based note you sometimes get, right? So first thing you do is you say it back to me in your own word, in exactly my words.
You're wearing my socks.
No, you don't do the line. So we're practicing the exercise of taking the notes. So you say back to me, like, louder and crazier.
Oh, so louder and crazier.
And then you put it into your own words. So how do you understand louder and crazier? Like
more like loud, like stressed out because.
Stressed out, good, yeah, right. So you put it in those words, and then because exactly, and then you explain why he's stressed out in the story.
He's stressed out because those are his favorite socks.
Those are his favorite socks, great. And then you give me like and then you can give me just a little sample line of like, like oh, like that. Yeah, and I can go, oh, yeah, great. That's exactly what I mean. Good. So give me the line like that. Stand by, and keep your eye line close to camera if it's way off the side but can't see it. And action.
Wearing my socks.
Right, and we get a completely different read. Really nice, Maddox. Joseph, same thing, and I'll just try giving you a different direction because, like I said, it's as much as about learning this note-taking tool. And shortly after I started playing with this, I had a student come in, and it was actually his dad sent me a message and said, "Wow, my son went into an audition today, and he said that the director, and it was for a commercial, so they're really not used to people like treating themselves as professional and dialoguing with them. He said the director was sort of like looked up from his days and was like, huh? Oh, yeah, and like fully talked to him about how he wanted the role actually to be, and he was convinced that that's why he got a callback. It was because the director experienced him as a professional in that way. So give me the line, "You're wearing my socks." stand by. You're right. So you're playing video games. You look up. You notice me wearing your socks. You know, like I'm right here by camera. Stand by. Playing video games. You could even be really into video games, making sounds. You're like, oh yeah, right. Like go ahead and play video games. There. Stand by. And action.
You're wearing my socks.
Cut. Right, and then keep acting until after you hear cut, because otherwise what happens is the decision makers, the money people, see you like do good acting and then be like, how was that? So just wait until after your cut, and even a couple of seconds after your cut, typically. So great. Try it again. But like super nerdy and fussy. Right, so this is a results-based direction. Here's how I want it to look and feel to me, but I haven't talked to him about how to get there or what that means. And so, do you remember how it goes? It goes like you say it back to me, then you say like, and you put it in your own words, and you say because, and you explain in just a couple of words why that makes sense in the story. So just say it back to me. So nerdy and fussy, right? And so
like,
this, I hope you don't mind me, talking.
Nerdy, like know it all.
Like what?
Like nerdy, like know it all.
Yes, great. Because
he's playing video games.
Right. So why does it make sense for him to be a know-it-all? And you basically just have to invent something. It's not like you already understand this. It's we get to see that you're a storyteller, right? So you basically just make it up because. He's a know-it-all.
He's a nerd.
Yeah, he's just like this genius guy. Great. And then and then give me and then I'm like, yeah, exactly. He's a know-it-all nerd. So this time, so do it again and give me the line like that. Stand by. Playing video games and action.
You're wearing my socks.
And keep looking at her. 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 You're so much better than her, right? Be superior. You know everything. You're a nerd. And cut, right? And so it informs your physical choices. It informs your behavior. And if you bring that in, and actually genuinely make that change, then they're like, wow, this person can take direction. They know what they're doing. And I think part of why this tool is useful is because it slows you down enough. Joseph, I hope you don't mind me commenting on what happened with your first take. But did you hear how by the time I was done talking, he actually didn't remember the 2-word results that I'd given him. He was like, and how many actors have just gone into their second take and said, okay, sure, because they're so nervous or excited that like actually if the words that the casting director, the director have given them have not landed. And so if you slow yourself down enough to say, oh, Miss Director, is this what you mean? Even if they're like, yep, that's exactly what I mean. Great. You've slowed yourself down. You've given yourself time to internalize it. Anybody else who's got their video on, want to try the exercise just for the taking the note exercise? Livia, Christina, Quinn, Jade, Tate, anybody? No, just leave me alone.
I'll try.
You want to try it? Great.
Oh, okay.
And Ariane, was that you twiddling your hair, or do you want to try it? You don't want to try it, okay. Good. So, I'll just try giving you a completely different direction. So they're like, actually, what if it's not a brother, it's a sister? So even though it's written brother in the breakdown, you go in, and or you see the breakdown and it actually says brother 13, and you're like, why has this been sent to me? Oh my God, they've made a mistake. And but if you do that to yourself, you've forgotten that they have 600 people they could choose from, and if they chose you, they want you. So that means somebody on the casting director side is like, actually, you know what? It might be really interesting if it was a girl, and I really like this girl's face. I really want to see her for an audition. So you're playing video games. Stand by. So drop your eye line. Drop your eyes there. This is good. Stand by and action.
Wait, sorry. Is my eye line straight or like to the side?
It's always just to one side of the camera. Now, what you can do is you can just grab the window. Like if you're not in full screen, you can literally just grab the window and drag the person's face over to one side of the screen. Then you're still looking at the real person. That's what I do when I'm doing these things.
Okay, so you're on this
Yeah,
side.
good. So she asked about her eye line. It's good. If you're in a real audition, you say, what's my eye line? Instead of, where do I look? It just makes you sound that much more professional, right? It means that you've prepared a little bit. Good.
So my eyeline's like this, and then I look like this.
Yeah, but bringing the phone into the shot and using that for the video games is great. Yeah, perfect. Stand by and action.
You're wearing my socks.
Great. Yeah, so again, but more angry. And you say,
You're wearing my socks. I'm more angry, right? More.
and then you put it in your own words because there's lots of different kinds of angry, and you want to make sure you tell them how you understand that.
So it's like more angry.
So
Like-
right, so you put angry into your own words. So like more angry, like
More angry, like he's so irritated that they're wearing your socks. Like, why?
right. And then that gives the director the option to be like, oh no, not frustrated, like outraged, like you told her not to, and she took your best socks again, like that. Stand by, and action.
You're wearing my socks.
And then we get a completely different read because we're telling a completely different story. Cut. Really nice. So, it's just a smidge past 4 o'clock. I know I'm not a director, but hopefully some of this is useful and interesting. And we got to talk to you a little bit about how to work with directors. And we saw from Emma a little bit at the very beginning. What are some of the things that a director is actually asking for in an audition that was happening this week in Vancouver? Anybody who needs to leave, please feel free to, unmute yourselves and, wave goodbye to everybody who needs to go. And I'm going to stick around until quarter after to answer questions. The Q&A has been great for these lessons so far. Oh, I will also say, and I'm going to put this on the Facebook and everything, that things are a little bit up in the air, for next week. I'm not sure what's happening with Casey's lessons later in the week, and I will know more by Monday. So, okay. Bye, people who need to leave.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Thanks so much.
Okay. There we go. We got like a tiny, tiny little group. So really anything that the four of you want to talk about, we can talk about for the next 10 minutes. I've taken lots of questions from Christina. Kevin or Dia, is there anything in particular that, any questions that are on your minds, even if they're like super specific to you? No. Silence. Okay. Well, Christina, you've always got good questions. What's today's question?
Sally, I've been trying to think it over, but I want to say a question that actually is not just any question. Like, I'm trying to think of like a real question.
Oh gosh,
that,
no, you should just ask whatever you're actually interested in knowing today. Like that's the whole point of a Q&A.
Okay, so like how I did the acting, right? One minute, like next time, like to add my own touch to it, to like be like, you can go look like this and be like.
If you make faces, you will get caught, and it will look like bad acting. So I know that like the thing that is happening for you is the most natural thing in the world. Is you want to be both the director and the actor. You want to go, what did it look like? And I want to change the way that it looks like. But you actually can't do both jobs at the same time. So if you wanted more personality, or if you wanted to put more of yourself into it, what you would say is, oh, next time I'm going to take 5 or 10 seconds before I say the line, and then I'm going to keep acting for 5 or 10 seconds after. And you could have opinions about what was going on, and decide what was going on before, and decide what was going on after, and just act as though those things were really happening, and trust that your face would do what it was supposed to do. Does that make sense?
Like how you said, it needs to be natural. Like you've been telling me, like it needs. It's not acting. It's like how you act in like normal life, right? Like regular.
Well, and it's such a tricky thing because everything you're interacting with is imaginary. And so of course it's the most normal thing in the world to go like, oh God, should I have made a different face? Like, should I have said it differently? And in practice, the notes that I find the most effective are the ones that get you engaging with the story. Where it's like, you have to pause the video game before talking to her, or like you start to get up out of your seat to go over there and get your socks back, or you pick up something next to you and throw it at her, you know, or right, like, so what is the interaction with the sister who's taken your favorite socks again, even though you told her not to? And it's that 10 seconds that shows us telling the story, not the face that you happen to make while you do it.
Okay. So
Right? That's the way it looks to us when we watch actors, because of course we just see the result. But from the inside, I think you have to have a reason to do something, you know, to keep you engaged. That's my opinion.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
I have a question actually.
Please.
Would you invest in a mic for self tapes, or do you think like how much of an investment? Because I think that is now probably the future for a while.
Yes.
So how much do you think you should get a mic, or what is the benefit? And just I would love to know how many lights you're using right now. You probably tell me this, but yeah.
No, I'm happy to tell you. So the let me show you what this is like if I unplug my microphone. You know, so this is me, you know, with a condenser mic that is, you know, on a stand here beside me. Although I've also, when I've traveled, taken the same little USB condenser mic and just like laid it on top of something underneath my laptop, and it's fine. Like anything's better than the microscopic mic on my computer. Yeah, so this is me without the microphone plugged in. Right, and it's not terrible. Like you can still hear me, but it's probably like a little bit more echoey and a little bit tinnier and flatter. You know, so you're not hearing like the depth of my voice. So I would say that a microphone. I would say that a microphone is a good investment, especially if you're planning to do a lot of these self tapes. You know, you don't need a new one. Right, like there's probably lots of folks, you know, who are selling these things online. You also I don't think that you need a fancy one unless you're specifically trying to compete in the world of voiceover, you know, where what it sounds like is the most important thing. Sure, then you might want to spend a couple $100. You know, I don't know a lot about that equipment, you know, but my guess is that like basically anything that is directional, you know, or that you can move closer to you than your computer is going to give you better sound. Yeah, the little lavalier mic. Sure, right. Have you had good results with that, Christina?
I'm not sure because my phone's an iPhone, so like it's like you have to plug it into the adapter, so like it can't really stick. So I would say if I was holding it, it is a bit better. But I just want to ask you if it's like okay.
The whole idea is that if you have a thing, you know, any device that with the microphone closer to you, you know, is probably going to be better sound, you know, than the onboard. You know, especially when you're talking about taping with a phone. You know, one of the big issues with phones is that they tend to be omnidirectional, the microphone. You know, and so what happens all the time in tapes by accident is the reader holds the phone or stands next to the phone, whereas you are 4 feet away from the phone, which means your voice sounds like this. And the readers, even though we can't see them, sounds like this. And you're like, ah, it's super jarring. You know, so that's my advice on microphones. And the other thing, you know, was lighting setup. You know, so let me just show you. You know, so I have no lights where I am right now. I am just in front of a big window. And I am just a couple of feet from that window, you know, and I have a collapsible backdrop with a piece of fabric stretched over top of it behind me, and the camera is approximately level with my eyes. Right? If the camera was much higher than me, I would lose a lot of my highlight, even though my skin color, you know, was decent. You know, same thing if the camera was much lower, you know, then I would lose some of my highlight and would get all those very unflattering chin. I also, you know, for like, sometimes I have this small desk lamp, you know, that I have safety pinned a piece or clothes pinned a piece of paper over top of, you know, to just like soften the light just a little bit. Yeah, and sometimes I'll use that to give myself a little bit of extra eye light. You know, so if I do that right now, because the white balance on a computer is not something that I have a lot of control over. So every once in a while, I'm like, something about the light today is like making me look super pale and pasty, and so then I'll use this, right? And you can see that it just warms it up a little bit, gives me a little bit of extra eye sparkle, but like it's literally just what I already had in my house. You know, the only reason I got the fancy microphone stand is because, you know, I run a 3,000 square foot studio downtown, you know, and we got it for a voiceover workshop years ago. And I was like, well, I could probably stick that in my closet. That's fine. I definitely don't need this whole mic stand and everything. I just need something I can plug into my USB mic. Yeah, and yeah, I could, you know, I could show you now, but you can take my word for it. It's probably better. Kevin,
Question. Yeah. Sorry about the chainsaw on the back. It's not me, it's my neighbor. Question for you. Casting director workshops that kind of go over the weekend, are those good to do when you're ready? And can they hurt you? Are they good to get exposure to the casting directors? Pros and cons, kind of. They seem to be really expensive. I've seen a lot of them. Are they good to get exposure for certain casting directors? Because there's only, what, 10 in town? But
yeah, 9 really, you know, like for film and TV. And so I think that, like most auditions, casting directors are only going to remember the things in those workshops that are exceptional to them in some way, or that happen to be in line with exactly what they're looking for right now.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Yeah. And so I don't think that there's typically there's not like an immediate benefit to doing them. You know, it's more like a longer term investment, you know, in feeling more comfortable with casting directors, you know, or, you know, trying to get a shot at exposure to a casting director who hasn't seen you or doesn't see you. And so your caveat of like when you're ready, yeah, like if you think that you are that you want that challenge of like doing that work in an adrenalized environment, and you're like, yeah, I feel like I've got what I need to be successful there, you know, then I think that it's a gamble, you know, but those are the conditions under which that's a successful gamble. You know, if you're like, I want to take casting director workshops because I want to learn what casting directors want, then I would say watch their videos online and don't put yourself in their workshops.
Yeah. Right?
Because they're typically not acting teachers. Like that's not the purpose of those. Okay. In fact, nobody's going to watch for the end of this video, right? You know, so I can say something, you know, that's like a little bit cynical, but I think is accurate. So, casting directors, you know, like 500 times a day. So like I'm an acting teacher, been an acting teacher for almost 20 years now. No matter what you tell someone, their second take in class is better because they're more settled, because they've said the lines out loud to this person in this room once. It's like the second take is just better no matter what. So casting directors 400, 500 times a day have the experience that they give a note and it gets better. And so casting directors tend to decide that their notes are the best notes and they're amazing because it's supported by their experience. You know, but I can say as a teacher, no matter what you tell people, their second take is better.
Yeah. And
so casting directors are often very sure that their notes are excellent notes. And how could they not be? That's reflected by their experience. You know, but I would say that that's the caveat around casting director workshops, you know, is that they will look you in the eyes with total conviction and say, here's the kind of notes that work. Here's how to be a good actor. Here's what makes sense. But that's not what they're doing every day. What they're doing is assessing actors based purely on the performances.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so for learning acting, I still think that teachers are the best bet. Yeah, and of course, like I'm hopelessly biased in that.
Yeah.
But that's my opinion on casting director workshops.
Yeah.
And a little fun tidbit for like trying to imagine the experience of a casting director.
Yeah, second take's always better.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah,
I mean, that's the beauty of doing self-tapes at home.
Yeah.
You know, is that you can just always send the second take. Be like, yeah. I'm just always that awesome. Although something that I have also experienced doing self-tapes, and I know we're just like a smidge over, but maybe this is also useful for you, is that when I have somebody coming into the studio to do a tape, often their first take is like the most alive. Like it's so it actually is often the first take, you know, that's like the most full, and then but usually there's something technically off about it. Like usually what'll happen is it'll be like really alive and really surprising to them, and then halfway through they'll be like, or they'll like the eye lines will be weird or something. And so so many times when I was coaching in my early years, I would have the experience of being like, oh my God, Dia, that first take was amazing, but like there's just this one little thing we need to change about it. And then like then you and I would spend like half an hour trying to change that thing, and we'd be like, oh God, we should probably just send that first one, shouldn't we? Yeah, I guess we're going to do that. And so what I've gotten in the habit of doing when I have clients come in for self-tapes is I say like, just rehearse it flat. Like we're just going to do the lines until you're 100% comfortable with the lines in this room today. Then we're going to just rehearse like the eye lines and the physicality, but like you're not going to do the acting yet. If somebody starts to like really feel it, I'm like, that's amazing. Save it. Yeah. And so we drill the technical things, first. And then once you've got that, then I'm like, okay, now let's record it and just play, like just have fun with it. And a lot of the time we end up using those first takes. Not always, and some actors, will always do better on their second or third take. But as an exercise, that's what I do when I'm coaching. And it might be worth thinking about when you are, like, let's say you've rehearsed something alone, and then you have a friend coming in to read it with you, or like by Zoom or in person, it might be worth thinking about, okay, let's just run the lines, and then we're going to work the physicality and make sure it all works around the camera. And only now am I going to act it for real. And sometimes then, that first take, will really fly. All right. Thanks for sticking around. I love the tiny group questions. Right? That's exactly what I want to be talking about, is like the stuff you want to talk about, not just like the things that are interesting to me. All right. Bye, everybody.
Cool.
Bye. Thank you.
Have a good weekend.
You too. See ya.